Good evening, everyone. Ooh, wow. That's a hot microphone, which I appreciate. We're going to get started, and the cantor and I appreciate your patience as we were both together at a Shiva house, so I think I broke more traffic laws than he did on the way back. Now that's ironic. Oh, that neighborhood, yes, for sure. But let us turn our neshama, let's turn our souls and our presence to the moment. It's good to see one another. It's always good to catch up and to make those connections, but we want to be in the emotional space of the program tonight. And in thinking about what we're doing and why it's important, I was thinking about a recent podcast I was listening to with a preeminent expert on Israeli politics and policy. You might have heard of him, you might not have. His name is Haviv Rettig Gur. And if you haven't heard of him, you should definitely look him up. And he is a regular person on Dan Senor's podcast called Call Me Back, which is 1 hour each week. It's one of the most high-level conversations with experts in government and policy about what's currently happening in Israel. And he was talking about, at the time, why is there this increase in hating Jews, in hating Israel over these months, when nothing has changed really for the worse, but only in some senses for the better. In that, Israel's purpose is clear. It's much more clear to everyone. And as Tzahal, as the Israeli Defense Forces, have confronted what has been called by General Petraeus, of our own military and government, has been called the most difficult urban warfare situation ever in the world. To have the battalions of Hamas underground, not just willfully using the Palestinians as shields, but actually desiring their death. That they benefit from the suffering of their own people, and that's a part of their strategy. With 350 miles of tunnels underneath the surface of the ground. And over these months, as Israel and the Israeli Defense Forces have learned, the casualty rates have gone down both for the IDF and for Palestinian innocents, for Palestinian civilians. So that's gotten, if anything, the situation has been improving in that way. Israel is doing better. It is protecting as many people as it can. And yet, we see this rise because there's no interest in knowing a peaceful outcome. We know that there were protests on October 8th against Israel. It's mind-boggling. So we're here tonight to hear about the situation, but in particular, we're here tonight for an amazing program, an amazing effort to not let the environment that we see around us, to not let the headlines of the newspapers sway us from recalling and remembering and holding dear every hostage still being held in Gaza and the memories of those, sadly, who have been killed. They're just as vital and they're just as special and just as important to us today as they've been each day since October 7th. That's really why we come together tonight. And so we're going to begin our evening with the prayer Achenu, which sadly is a part of our liturgy on a daily basis because of our history as Jews in the world. And it calls forth and celebrates our own value of always redeeming those who've been held because they're Jewish, of those who've been taken captive. So please turn to the back of the program and join Chazan Barnoy, who's going to lead us in singing Achenu together. And please, if we can stand out of kavod, out of respect.
Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Hanetonim betzara, betzara ubeshivya. העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. אחינו כל בית ישראל, אחינו כל בית ישראל, הנתונים בצרה, בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומאפלה ליורה ומשעבוד לגאולה שתה וגלה ובזמן קריב. אחינו כל בית ישראל, אחינו כל בית ישראל, הנתונים בצרה, בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומשעבוד ליורה ומשעבוד לגאולה השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב.
We are privileged this evening to have our own Shaliach, Amit Yaakov, with us, not just in his role as a Shaliach, a agent of Israel, a representative agent of Israel serving in our community, but also as a soldier who has recently returned from service in Israel and in Gaza. So first, let me share just a little bit of his biography. Amit is the joining of two heritages, an Iranian and an Iraqi, right? So two amazing homes of the Jewish people for thousands of years. And you're the first generation Sabra on your mother's side. And he studied at the Hartman Institute High School in Jerusalem and is the second year Shaliach for the Jewish Agency for Israel here on Long Island and coordinator of Shevet Geffen, an Israeli Scouts chapter on Long Island, and a community Shaliach to Common Point in Queens. And after high school, Amit studied at a mechina, a pre-army, post-high school program that was in a religious setting of learning, and he says gave him a perspective about his role in the Israeli and the Jewish world, which is very interesting, and we hopefully will hear about that at some point too. And then subsequently became an officer in the IDF, and he currently holds the rank of captain in the IDF reserves, having just served 2 months in the Iron Sword War in Israel as a human resources officer for his tank battalion. And he's going to share with us his experiences and from these 2 months, as he titled the presentation, 2 months in 30 pictures. So Amit, thank you for your service and thank you for being here tonight to share with us.
Wow. So usually I send my bio just to get an idea about me, but really gave a lot about me. And so, again, hi. My name is Amit. I'm 27, from Jerusalem, Yerushalmi. And yeah, it's my second year now. It's funny to say second year when 3 months of these 2 years I wasn't here. 2 months very lately. And it's not the first time that I do this talk. Unfortunately, we don't have an hour, so I won't use my presentation. But I'll share with you my story. And when I first started doing it, so I was asked or was thinking, what's the best way to share the story of Israel in these days? And I think the 2 months that I experienced in the war is maybe only my story, but the same way can be a story of a lot of other Israelis. And so through my story, I think we can get a glimpse about the story of Israel and Israelis in this last, I can't believe I said that, 5 months. So for me, this whole story begins not in Israel, not even in New York. It starts in New Orleans. I was there with my friend on October 6th. It was a long weekend here, so we figured that we should take the weekend off and fly to New Orleans. And it was night. And we were out, New Orleans, a big scene, the bars. And all of a sudden we got, I think it was 11:30, we got this push notification that said that a missile attack had been shot towards Israel, and it got all the way to Tel Aviv, Central District of Israel in general. And it's funny to say, but we weren't shocked. It have happened before. But it's unusual. We figured, I don't know, maybe it was also Simchat Torah, so maybe because of that. And we figured we were very tired anyway, so we figured that we just go back to our hotel, watch the news, and go to sleep. And then we opened the news, and we witnessed the worst news broadcast I've ever seen in my life. I still remember the phone calls that was made within in the news channel, and the reporters trying to guide the army in pure chaos. My friend who was with me, Eldad, he's originally from Ashkelon. Now he's a shaliach in Atlanta. And you know me, I mean, I'm from Jerusalem, so like it's not Otef Az, like it's not around Gaza. And it was scary for me, so just try to think what he experienced as all his family is in Ashkelon, right by the northern border with Gaza. And as the news broadcast kept going on and on, we realized that we're having like this, we're witnessing, I don't know, maybe the biggest trauma to Israel since 1973, and maybe even since 1943 or the Holocaust. And so we did two things. The first one was to call our families, and the second was to call our units. So I actually didn't call just a person from my unit. I called my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law said we serve the same unit. He's a platoon commander, and I'm the human resources officer of our battalion, our tank battalion. And I asked him, his name is Itamar, he's married to my sister. I asked him, Itamar, ma kore, what's going on? Should I come back? And he told me, listen, I was recruited. Itamar says he was recruited, and he told me, listen, we have to figure out what's our mission gonna be. Because we didn't know at the beginning, we knew nothing. And so that's how I went to sleep, like for 2 hours, and we woke up very early, Eldad and I. We grabbed the coffee, and we saw the news that kept coming, and we decided that we should go back to our shlichut, he to Atlanta and I back to New York. Of course, I updated the shlichut here, and I updated my brother-in-law and my unit, and I told him, listen, just let me know what's going on. And I took the flight, and as soon as I landed, I got this text message that said, okay, you should come. And at the first second, you think twice. It's not just I'm here, I don't know, working in a day job, 9 to 5. I'm here in shlichut as a shaliach. But it only took me a second, and I realized that before I'm a shaliach, before I'm a meet, I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier of the state of Israel. And when I'm called, I need to go back. And it wasn't a hard decision, honestly. I think the harder decision was to stay here. And we also have to realize that this decision was not extraordinary or unusual. It's a very, very natural decision of millions of Israelis. And we're being called, we're going. And that's what I did. I think it was October 10 when I took the flight back to Israel, landed October 11. It was a Wednesday afternoon, and Thursday, October 12, 5th in the morning, took my parents' car, recruited their car, and I went to my unit to get my equipment, my weapon, my protective, and joined them. And we first started at the northern border of Israel by the Lebanese and Israeli border. That's our mission. That's what we've been practicing for years. And so that's where we were stationed at first. And I got there, and I see my brother-in-law, which a month later we took a selfie on Central Park. Fast forward 1 month, we're taking a selfie in the northern border. And of course, we gave each other a big hug. And that's it. And I got to the war. I didn't have 30 minutes to understand where I am, and I already got our mission, what our my department missions are, and that's how we got into the Iron Sword War. And we spent the weekend there. Of course, they were there for already a week by then, and it was a very rainy. It was about to get really rainy, so we were moved to one of these. I don't know. We can call it a resort nearby where we were, and we were told that we're going to stay there for a few days, and we're going to get some lessons, like the fighting soldiers are going to get the lessons, refresh their memory about the tanks, a few chill days before we're going back to our tanks. It was a Saturday night, and then we expected to sleep in on Sunday morning, after a long week. And then all of a sudden, we get we hear some phone calls, and then the higher officers was trying to, they woke us up and told us, listen, by 7 a.m., everyone's gonna should be on the lawn. Our tank commander, our battalion commander wants to have a talk with us. Okay? So of course everyone got there by time. And then he started and said, listen, when we prepared ourselves to come up here, we was ahead of schedule by 48 hours. And that's what made the headquarters, like the IDF headquarters, to have a spotlight on us. And they've decided that we should go south and join the paratrooper brigade. And we're going to fight alongside the paratroopers. And at once you could see people's faces. The realization of we're going to actually take part in the war. I mean, of course, as we assume that the war in Lebanon is going to be worse than the war in Gaza. But there's a question mark under fighting in Lebanon. As we can see till now, Israel haven't really went on a war with Hezbollah. Of course, they're fighting, but it's not a war yet. But when we were told that we're going to go south, we're going to go to Gaza, we realized that, okay, we're going to fight. And we have to understand this battalion is 100% reserve forces. People, almost all of them has families, wives, little kids in their home, of course, careers. But it was very fast that the face changed from, I don't know, the moment of realization to a face of resilience, of understanding that, of course, it's right that we're going to fight in Gaza, but from the other hand, we're going to fight in Gaza. We're going to fight for our country. We're going to fight for the hostages that have been taken from us. And it was unbelievable. Everyone just packed everything. And by the same night, we were already in the south and began our training to go into Gaza. We didn't know when, but we knew that it's going to happen. And it was followed by 3 weeks of training. We have to understand that paratroopers don't usually fight alongside the tanks. They don't usually fight alongside armored vehicles. So it was new to them. It was a struggle, or it was a challenge for us, for our soldiers, to teach them how to fight alongside tanks or armored vehicles. But eventually they did. And I remember that the day we went in, our troops went in with the tanks. So our tank commander, our battalion commander, gathered us all. Usually that's what you do before you go in. You have your speech. It starts by orders, and then followed by a speech of the battalion commander. And he was talking, and there was this silence that I've never heard before. It was so silent. You could see people are thinking, like they're listening like their life depends on it, but their life are actually depend of what our battalion commander says. And I was looking, of course, my brother-in-law was there and was there too. And you can't not to think about what can happen. And like a week before we were in this speech, his mom passed. She was sick for a few months, and she was best. Yeah, he called me. Of course, it was heartbreaking for all of us. We were a very close family, and he was going. We had the funeral, and he was sitting shiva for a day because he didn't know how long he's gonna be home. But when we realized that it's about time and we're going in, so he packed everything, and he got the support of his parents, support of his dad, his family, his brothers. He has 2 brothers, of course, my sister. And you can't not to think at this moment, am I gonna be the last family member that's going to see my brother-in-law? Or in general, am I gonna be the last person who sees what's the last time we're gonna see each other, me and one of my friends there? But I don't know how to to give an explanation. But there was nothing but smiles, but very high spirit, and that's how my tank battalion went in. And we went in and we did a tremendous job. We were going forward, getting our mission done ahead of schedule, facing enemy and terrorist infrastructure and destroying it. And that was the first 2 weeks. And of course, my brother-in-law was still there, and I was released for the weekend for the first time since I got to Israel. I think it was a month after I got to Israel. And for this whole month, my sister, his wife, was at my parents' place, and she just went back to her home in Tel Aviv. And I asked her, listen, her name is Shiran. I told her, listen, I'm coming for a weekend. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen again before I get to Israel, before I get back to New York. I would love you to come. And she said, that's fine by me. But you have to come with me from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I'm not doing this way by myself. And I was like, yeah, of course, sure. Whatever. And it was Friday afternoon, 2:30. We were heading to Tel Aviv. We were on Ayalon, the main road of Tel Aviv. And all of a sudden, Friday afternoon, the most chill time of the week, and we hear the alarm, the missile alarm. It caught us right on our way to Jerusalem. And of course, it stresses you, but I mean, we know the drill. You have to pull over, go out of the car, lay on the ground, and put your hands over your head. We had, beside her and me, we had her 3 young children. Her oldest is, she's a 7-year-old. Her youngest is almost 2-year-old. And her middle one is 4.5 years old. So we took them out very fast because, we have like a minute or 90 seconds to take shelter. And since we didn't have shelter, so we just figured we're gonna gather them all together. She was protecting over them. I was protecting all of us. And then we hear the big booms of the Iron Dome system blowing the missiles up in the air. And I was looking up. I'm a curious person. I was looking up, and I saw the bombings right above us. Usually you see the bombing above you because it's up there and you're down here. But this time I felt like, okay, this is really above us. So I looked down and I told my sister, I didn't want the kids to hear, so I told her, listen, sis, I think we should we should take the children and we should go under the bridge. We're like 300 feet from a bridge. Figure that can protect us in this situation. And she was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. It's a good idea. So she was carrying her 2-year-old. I was carrying her 4.5 years old, and her 7-year-old went by herself. And so we went in like a line, me, my sister, and her daughter. And then all of a sudden, I hear this like whistle, like and I look back, and it was followed by screamings. And I was looking at my sister, and she was the one who was screaming. Like a piece of the missile fell right on her feet. Yeah, it was as you can imagine it. There was blood, there was screamings, but it was a pure miracle because I mean she was only hit. She was hit on her toe. She kept it. It's a bit messy down there, but she kept her toe. But still, it was very panicking. I was afraid that another pieces are gonna fall. And of course, people were there, helped us to take the kids at least under the bridge. And I was carrying her towards the bridge. And eventually we didn't make it. She told me, listen, put me here, run to the kids to see that they're okay. And they weren't hit. I mean, like if it was 3 inches to the left, it was on her son's head. 3 inches to the right, it was on her own head. So the fact that it only ended this way was a pure miracle. And the ambulance got there very fast and took her to the hospital. I'm sorry, I'm doing the short version. I want to keep you in your seats for a long time. And I took the kids to Jerusalem with me. She was at the hospital. Of course, she sent us a selfie, smiling, just to keep her spirit high. And I gave her a call later this day. I told her, listen, your husband is in Gaza. You're in the hospital. What about the kids? What we should do with the kids, right? And she was like, what do you mean? Sunday is a school day. Of course, in Israel, we learn on Sunday. So she was like, yeah, Sunday is a school day, and they need to be at school. I was like, are you sure? And she wanted to keep everything on track as much as we can. Therefore, my parents became their parents for about 2 weeks that she was in the hospital. And only until Monday morning, my brother-in-law, who was in Gaza, I didn't know about his wife being in the hospital. Not because he couldn't know, because my sister didn't want him to know and to be distracted from the mission. So she was willing to do all the arrangements by herself from her bed in hospital just to keep him focused. Eventually, Monday morning, he was told, and he came. At first, he didn't want to leave Gaza, but my sister made him clear that he should come back. And he was there with her, and she was in hospital for 2 weeks, and of course, she still going through recovery. And I went back to our base. And that night I got my rank, my new rank as a captain. And then my platoon commander took me aside and told me, listen, I know now that you're a captain, our battalion commander wants you in Gaza. And I asked him, why? Because as a human resources officer, you're not supposed to be in Gaza. But due to the fact that we had they were there for almost over 2 weeks, and we wanted to refresh them. We wanted someone to take care of it from the inside. And I told him, okay, we're going to have a new trauma running over the last trauma. Um, and 2 days later, I was on the truck, like we're going in trucks, going into Gaza with my brother-in-law in the truck next to me. And you know, when you go into Gaza, I'm not sure if you know, but when you go into Gaza, I mean, you don't know what to expect, and I won't take you into details about, I don't know, the experience, I don't know, the smell on the way there, and the broken place, which I refer to at the end. But it wasn't a nice experience, but we went in, and the first night was crazy. You can see it in the movies. The bombings, the noise, the fire. It was just as described in movies, sometimes even more detailed. And everyone are chilled for some reason. And the next day, we went in by night, so the next morning, I got to see more of the soldiers, and they were all really motivated. The morale was so high against this resilience that I don't know where people are taking it from. I guess it just it's very it's infecting everyone that sees each other. And that, of course, gave me strength to do what I was supposed to do in there. And the next day, so, you know, every time we get to some place, like a Hamas house, so we take whatever we can. We take intelligence, we take their ammunition, so they won't use it again. And we take everything that can't be an evidence in order to make show that this house was actual terrorist house. So in one of the houses, one of the things that our soldiers brought is this T-shirt. You can see it right here. This is an actual Hamas terrorist T-shirt from the battalion of Sabra in the middle of Gaza where we were. You can see a very nice logo right here. Of course, with the land of Israel. That's Hamas logo. And at the bottom, right here, it says battalion, Sabra battalion, and here it says Department of the Massive Terror Attack. Yeah, that's what we're facing. While we have merch for summer camps or happy occasions, that would be a nice word to say. These people are having merch for the worst terror attack on the state of Israel. And I need to conclude this talk, but then I went out, and on my way out, I went out by day, and I saw all these broken houses, broken buildings that had been attacked, and it brings you up to questions, like why does it look like that? And I know, in fact, that we don't just bomb houses. We only attack places that are confirmed as Hamas houses. And, you know, seeing all these broke houses sometimes make you question about it. But that's I know the orders. I know the direct orders. And what made me certain about it is 2 or 3 days later, I was in our our brigade headquarters in Israel, and we had our IDF drone, locked on Hamas terrorist pickup truck, which was confirmed as Hamas terrorists because you could see their weapons on it, and we know that, if they're there, they're probably gonna attack IDF soldiers. And it was only clicking a bottom and taking them out. But unfortunately, they were very close to civil population, and this mission was aborted. So then I had no doubts. I know, in fact, that this is reality. You only attack what is confirmed as Hamas terrorist attack, and then seeing this tremendous destruction in Gaza made me realize that they're all infected by Hamas and by terrorist infrastructures within their homes. And that made me certain about it. And then we got to Hanukkah, and after I managed to arrange it that two people can come in and replace me with my battalion so I could come back here and do what I do. And that's how I came back here on the middle of Hanukkah, when my battalion is still in Gaza for additional 2 months. So we were the first battalion to go, the reserve battalion that went in, the last reserve battalion that went out. And before I conclude, I want to share with you a short story. Before I left to Israel, of course, before we knew about October 7th, I was meeting, I had this talk with Mr. Eric Goldstein, CEO of UJA, the New York Federation, was in the city. And I asked him about the relationship or the connection between the Jewish community in New York and in America, and Israel and Israelis regarding to everything that Israel went through this past year, which was a lot. And I was left with a question mark after his answer. I wasn't certain, and he wasn't too. And then when I went back to Israel, and I was I was doing my job in the war, that question mark became an exclamation mark. The support we got, it's supplies by the government, it's medical supplies by donations, it's even the underwear, or, the letters or drawings from kids here in America, in New York, that we were hanging on our tanks, on our armored vehicles. We felt like someone has our back. We know, in fact, that we are not alone. And we know that thanks to you guys, to people like you who come and listen and contribute and support Israel, Israelis, and their fellow brothers and sisters back in Israel. And for that, I want to say thank you for bringing me here and giving me this opportunity to talk to you guys. And that's it. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you, guys.
Amit, we applaud you and we want to hug you, and for you, but also for what you represent, and thank you for sharing such personal stories. The amazing thing about going to Israel with people other than yourself is to hear and see the experience through their eyes, to get different perspectives, to hear from different places. So this evening, we're very blessed to have with us some members of our congregational mission from last month, and they're going to come forward. They each have a kind of a memory or a thought to share about their experience. We have Norman Fried, John and Carolyn Canova, we have Lisa Sackle, and we have Sharon Rothberg. So can you guys come forward and then give our...
Good evening. So we each went for our own reasons So give a little brief background. When I was small, I was very interested in military history. At a very young age, during the Six-Day War, I read every news article I could get, and I was amazed at how Israel handled the Six-Day War. And then at the Yom Kippur War, I was shocked at how it could happen, and I was surprised. But then I was amazed again how they recovered and won. So I ended up joining the Marine Corps, and between active duty and reserve, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. And then for the next 40 years, I worked in the defense industry, building military aircraft and working for contractors doing the Navy work. And then September 11th happened, and I saw how could the United States fall into the same category. And then, I figured, well, it could never happen again. And then October 7th happened, and I was amazed that it happened again in Israel, and I could not understand. And then the rabbi came up with this mission, and I had questions that I wanted to find out myself. So Carol and I looked at each other, and we said, there is no reason why we couldn't go and get some answers for ourselves. So we went, and in the first night, we had a conversation with a reporter from the Times of Israel, and I listened to him, and he explained the geopolitical issues of the Middle East. And one of the things that I came away from was that he was saying to us that basically Israel feels that there is a plan that they're hoping in the next 10 years that they would be completely independent on their own, where they don't need anyone else for their own financial, economic, or military support, that they will be independent of everyone. So then we spent the next couple of days going around the country and observing what was going on. And what I noticed was that just like after 9/11, the Israeli people were torn apart. But amazingly, what we saw was that the folks came together and they were supporting each other. And that's what I saw coming out of this. And Carol and I decided that after the mission was over, we stayed, because besides giving money, doing what the rabbi wanted us to do in support, buying equipment for the soldiers, donating gifts that we brought for the community, we wanted to donate our time. And from David, who took his time to teach us how to tie tzitzit, and Charlie, the driver, who was showing us pictures of his son who's in special forces up all over Israel fighting, and the pride that he had in his son, and everyday Israelis who welcomed us. We don't have family in Israel, but their outreach to us, we became extended family. The Marine Corps has a saying that leave no man behind. And we have a motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. That's our motto to our Israeli family and our friends. We'll leave no hostage behind, and we will always be faithful to our Israeli family.
Really two tough acts to follow. Like many of you, I see familiar faces. We were here on October 7th thinking we were going to celebrate Simchat Torah. And instead, we were horrified to hear the news that Israel was attacked. And I think many of us did not appreciate the magnitude and brutality of what that attack actually meant. And we left feeling both horrified and helpless at the same time. Like many of you, we did what we always do. We immediately sent money. And we went to Home Depot. This we don't always do. We went to Home Depot, bought a couple of $100 worth of supplies with the list for the, because 300,000 reservists were called up and the Army didn't have the supplies to outfit them. And what else did we do? We went to rallies. We came here at events. We went to rallies in Eisenhower Park and in Plainview and in New York City and ultimately in Washington, D.C. And then Rabbi Ben-Gideon announced that we were going to be joining, TBS was going to be joining a mission to Israel. And that offered us an opportunity to potentially actually do something. And like John said, we just looked at each other and we both said at the same time, we should go. We're both retired. There's not a reason that we shouldn't go, so we have to go. And we went with the three main objectives: to bear witness, to demonstrate our love and support for Israel, and to volunteer where needed, and spend a few shekels along the way to help the economy where we could. We thought we knew what to expect, but encountered various unexpected surprises, both heartbreaking and inspiring, and often both at the exact same time for the same reason, because that's Israel. We bore witness. From the moment we stepped off the plane, the Bring Them Home posters lined the airport. And on the way from the airport to Jerusalem, we would pass buildings with giant banners covering literally the whole facades saying, "Bring them home." We went to Hostage Square and bore witness. We met with the hostage families and heard their story in Tel Aviv. And we went south to see firsthand the devastation left at the Nova Music Festival, and to Kfar Aza. What we didn't expect was to be moved each and every morning when we opened the door of our hotel room to see and feel the pain of the hundreds of displaced Israelis, the hidden issues that you don't see on the news, entire families living in a single hotel room, and not the ones here with the efficiency kitchen units and the living area, just regular hotel rooms, mothers with 4 children, representing just a few of the hundreds of thousands of people who were evacuated from their homes on October 7th with little but what they could carry with them, yes, from around Gaza, but also from all around the north out of fear that Hezbollah was going to attack. Seeing how these families, how these mothers in particular, were doing the best for their kids while their world was turned literally upside down was both heartbreaking and inspiring, and we would see it every day. Every ounce of love and support that we thought we were bringing to Israelis was returned tenfold in the way they made us feel loved, welcomed, and appreciated just for showing up like you just did, honey. Probably the most impactful part of our time in Israel for John and for me was the time we spent volunteering that he mentioned, all of which were way outside of our comfort zones, as you'll see. We brought a few pictures to share. So this is the first one. Our volunteer journey began before we even left Long Island, along with Jill D. and Mark Eichenholz, and I know Lisa was there. This is a picture of us standing with Terry Ackerman, because we volunteered. Actually, I didn't go because I went to the Challah Prince thing at Schechter that night, but volunteered to help pack these duffel bags with beautiful crossbody bags that she designed for the soldiers, stuffed with all kind of goodies and tools and necessities. So here's us with Terry and a bunch of the duffel bags that we all schlepped all from to JFK and then to Israel, in the lobby of the Dan Panorama Hotel, with one of their only 2 luggage carts that was loaded while we were waiting for the bus so that we could put them underneath and have them for the soldiers when we needed them. So John and I are now experts at pruning giant cucumber plants. Not as easy as it sounds, but when 2 type A personalities are given a task to do, we are darn well gonna do it and get it done. So here we are handing out some of the gift bags we've been talking about, and fleece jackets, letters, smiles, and even hugs at the Urim military base near Gaza at a barbecue that our group collectively decided to sponsor. Is it? At Urim. Okay. Do you know the guy? Do you know Ayla? She's a lone soldier from Palm Beach. I'm not sure. Rachel's not there, from Cleveland. We had a great time. The soldiers on the base, not only expressing gratitude for the barbecue and the gift bags and the fleeces and the hand warmers, but unabashedly asking for hugs. Can I hug you? Can you hug me? Was another of those moments that took me by surprise and brought me to tears, that these beautiful young boys and girls are put in danger far from their moms and dads in order to protect the land of Israel and all of us. And yet at the same time, you can see, look at them, they're full of confidence and optimism like Amit was describing. So another example of heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time. So here's John rocking his lovely new ensemble of blue hairnet and disposable apron at Pantry Packers, proudly displaying the stacks of crates that our team packed with close to 400 bags of peas in plastic bags that we filled in with the giant hoppers, labeled, sealed, and stacked in crates. This organization was founded in 1788 and has been providing food assistance to needy Israelis ever since. And now they're supporting a lot of the displaced families as well. So here we took a quick selfie at Thank Israeli Soldiers. That coordinates a point person in every IDF unit to provide much needed clothing and gear for the soldiers. The day we were there, we were packing the heavy fleeces that were requested by various units, particularly in the north. And we had brought with us these little gift bags filled with hand warmers and energy bars that we asked, and they said that we could pack in with all the fleeces as a little surprise for the unit when they got there. And if cucumber pruning was outside of our comfort zone, here we are learning the Sephardic technique for tying tzitzit for our soldiers to the green shirts that are supplied directly by the IDF. As Rabbi Ben Gideon had coincidentally shared with us one Shabbat morning, that even before we left, that there was this huge demand for tzitzit from the soldiers, not only Orthodox, not even only Jewish, that we were helping to tie the tzitzit on. They would bring box loads of these shirts in and show you how to tie it, and then you sit there in the afternoon to do it. So the folks at Eretz Chemda seemed particularly impressed that we were able to complete 8 full shirts in one afternoon, which we attributed to our new friend David Amelech being a really great teacher. And again, when 2 type A personalities are given a task to do, we're gonna get it done. In closing, it's a privilege to be here. It was a privilege to be part of this mission to Israel. And I thank everyone who was involved that made our experience really so inspiring. It wasn't the specific activities that we volunteered for, although the cucumbers and the tzitzit were kind of neat. But helping in whatever way was meaningful. We went with the objectives to bear witness to demonstrate our love and support for Israelis and volunteer where needed. And we came away so inspired by the people we met and the resilience and creativity of the Israeli people, even when the government wasn't doing it. They just stepped up and did whatever was needed, and we felt blessed just to have been in their presence. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So the most meaningful part of the trip for me was the night that we spent on the Gaza border with the soldiers. It was after a very difficult day going down to the site of the Nova Festival and looking at the destroyed kibbutz Kfar Aza. We arrived on the army base on our big bus with, like she said, a barbecue, dinner, backpacks filled with hand warmers, clothes, gloves, everything. The soldiers came up to us and greeted us with smiles, with appreciation, and with giant hugs. After seeing the worst of humanity that day, we were now watching the best of humanity. The children, I call them, or young adults, are no different than all of our children. They were texting, they were showing us pictures on their phones, they were talking about their boyfriends, their girlfriends, who they liked. But however, of course, their lives are totally different. They face danger in Gaza, and they are still so proud, brave, and thankful to serve their country. I felt so much hope after seeing and speaking to the young Israeli soldiers. The girl soldiers even snuck us into their room to show us all of the letters that the Jews from all around the world had sent them and pictures of their families. They were thanking us for coming in their time of need. But we, of course, were thanking them on behalf of us, our children, and on behalf of our fellow Jews. I wanted to show my children, when Israel and Jews suffer, so do we. The soldiers are defending the only country where we are welcome and at any time. And then this leads me to my last point of the evening. Not only did the soldiers give me hope and inspire me, the whole country itself has so many incredible new sites and buildings that are being built. We went one day to this unbelievable new blood center. It was just opened, and a lactation center, which it might have been in existence for maybe a week. And it was as if Israel knew something was going to happen or a war was coming. Women were there donating breast milk, allowing other soldiers to go back to war and do what they had to do. We also went to like an underground hospital. So while Hamas was busy building all of their tunnels, the Israelis were building state-of-the-art hospitals to heal and help people. Like she said before, up north is where what happened was when they found out in Gaza, they told the people, could you imagine hearing sirens go off on October 7th, and the people that were living in the north near Lebanon had to evacuate immediately with nothing except the clothes on their back. These were the families that were staying in the hotel with us. Luckily, they're being given housing, they're getting support, they're getting clothing, they're getting food. Israel is doing their best to take care of their people, and I was so proud to witness that. So my message is, let's all continue to donate our time, our energy, our money, and our presence, which means that we have to go back. Israel needs us, and we need them. Am Yisrael Chai.
Sharon, that was amazing. Hi, everybody. I left for Israel on February 4th with a heart filled with hope and energy. My internal dream was to spread the word that the Jews of the diaspora love Israel and want to help. But as the events and the education of the four trauma-filled days unfolded before me, I came to realize that my Israeli friends and family are here to help me and all of us as much as we aim to help them. I saw quite completely how the wounded heal the wounded. And in this manner, I began to understand the meaning of the word unity, to imagine myself as one of many. Al tifrosh min hatzibur, Hillel says, do not pull away from the community. In unity there is love, because this is where Hashem resides. In unity we pray, because we are a minyan of believers. There were many moments, countless places where I prayed for God's help on our 4-day mission. But perhaps the greatest need I had for prayer, the deepest moments of my dialogues with God, were when we visited Kibbutz Kfar Aza. We met with Chen Amra, a beautiful resident of the kibbutz whose mother and father founded the settlement in 1956. Chen was our guide. With love and deep sorrow, she ushered us through her village. We saw half-burned houses, faces of buildings pocked and scarred by random but deliberate bullets, and of the 400 homes on the kibbutz, only 40 were left undamaged. In front of every house, we saw large banners with a picture of the Israeli resident or residents who were either killed or raped or taken hostage. It was a walk down a pathway in Auschwitz, Sobibor, Treblinka. Only this wasn't 1942, and it wasn't Germany or Poland or Czechoslovakia. The effects of trauma are threefold. Those who've endured this type of manic violence, as well as those of us who witness the effects in its aftermath, experience a sense of disconnection from the normal world, a sense of powerlessness to effect change in our lives, and a challenged relationship with our faith. We question the power of our prayers. Interestingly enough, our parsha this week is Vayikra, and God called out. This parsha introduces us to the power of prayer through sacrifices that we are told are korbanot. And more specifically, we read about 5 different types of korbanot that are to be offered to God by the Israelites in the desert. Today, our prayer is different. Instead of korbanot, sacrifices, we use tefillah, which is prayer in the form of supplication. Modern day prayer is more a dialogue, an intimate, private conversation between God and man that starts in our hearts and transcends to the higher power we feel around and inside of us. And so we pray today. We pray for the release of the hostages. We pray for the safety of the IDF soldiers, all of whom are casualties of a war they did not want and victims of hatred they do not harbor. Does God hear our prayers? I believe he does. But we who are trapped in our mortal bodies with finite cognitive understanding are not always able to fully apprehend his answers. But as it says in Vayikra, still we call out to God and we pray for peace.
I didn't write anything down. I guess I'll speak from here. And I spoke a lot about all the good times, and it was amazing. And for those of you that don't know, I've never been to Israel, and OMG, from the time I got off the airport, it was amazing. I really can't even look. I'll look over here at the tunnel in Hostage Square and the effect it had on me. It's hard to talk about it. I mean, do you all know what that is? Hostage Square is a place in which the hostage families gathered to be together, to express themselves. All the artwork, there's so much art. I took a ton of pictures. I'd be happy to show them to you. It'd take me almost 2 hours. So I picked the most meaningful ones, and this one was really meaningful. This is an art installation of a tunnel that those poor hostages are probably in, hopefully, I don't know. And as you walk through the tunnel, and it's dark, I'm shaking. And it's dark, and you hear artillery, and it's terrible. It's terrible. Go to the next one. Hostage Square is filled with different pictures. Oh, Go past that one. That's the Wailing Wall, that's the last day, and that was really meaningful to me, but we don't want to talk about that either. It's really hard to talk about these. But I promised, what was her name? I promised her I would talk about it, and I promised her, and I will. And I don't understand how this destruction was possible, and all of these numbers mean things about the days, and when they went in to check for the bodies, and then they took the bodies out, and, oy, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. Can I not speak? Can you intake that horror? Right? Okay, then that's it. So, Israel, okay, so go to the wall. So Israel was amazing, and after we went to the kibbutz and the Nova Festival, I thought I sent that. The Nova Festival was just crazy, and it was looking at my Holocaust. I can't believe I had to witness that. It's something I didn't think I should ever have to look at. And then we did the barbecue with the soldiers, which was amazing, and they were so amazing, and it was like looking at my niece in her eyes, and so young and so full of life and so grateful. And every single person I saw in Israel was so grateful for us visiting everywhere we went, and it was 4 short days that were packed from first thing in the morning to even the people in the lobby at breakfast that I was interacting with that were so grateful. To my family being so upset that I went, that I was crazy to go to Israel during the war. But I felt I had to do something. How could I sit after October 7th and do nothing? And this is a lifelong dream of mine. And I'm crying in happiness, I think, that I'm there, and I have the pleasure and the honor of touching that wall. So that meant a lot, and that was our last day. And our last day I loved, because after that we went shopping in Jerusalem, and I got to spend as much money as I could. My credit cards are done. I came back, we met the women from, that were staying in the hotel, and that was very touching and sad. And then we had a lovely dinner and back to the airport. So, I think that's it. Did I say enough?
First of all, thank you to all the speakers who shared from their heart, and to Amit. And I'd like to now introduce you to Anat Yosefi. And I've known Anat many years. Our children attended and graduated together from Solomon Schechter School of Long Island. At the time, it was called Solomon Schechter Day School. And I believe your middle daughter was in school with my son.
No,
right?
Noam.
Noam.
Noam was in school.
Right, Noam was in
We did
school.
Oklahoma together.
And then they did Oklahoma together, the play. And then she went to the Army.
Yes.
And what I know of Anat for all these years is that she is a volunteer, but not just a volunteer. She takes projects on, and she really takes them to heart, and she sees them through. This is the kind of person you call when you want something done. And she reached out to me just a couple of weeks ago through my wife, and presented a project that became very close to her heart, and I think will become extremely close to your heart tonight when she has a chance to explain what it's all about. You see the postcards that are in front of you wherever you're sitting of the hostages, whether they're still there in captivity or whether they came home. And Anat will explain why you're looking at them.
Thank you. Yeah, Ofer gets things done too. Always. Had the pleasure of volunteering alongside him many times. Thank you, Amit, for being there. And thank you for visiting. Myself, my husband, and my youngest, Yael, happened to be in Israel on October 7th. We were just there for a 3-week vacation. The first week we thoroughly enjoyed. And then we went to the south just to be in a hotel for the weekend and woke up to the sirens and to the bombs. And our lives changed completely. I'm glad you went to Kfar Aza because I gave my apartment to a family from Kfar Aza. I don't know them. On the day I left, I gave my dad the key, and he gave it to them, and they've been living there for 5 months. You tell me if I'm expressing it, it's the easiest thing to do. And all around Israel, people have done that in so many ways, from giving clothes, because all of these people are displaced. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people from both the north and the south, and they are homeless, and they have no support, and they need schooling, and they need clothes, and they need toys. They need everything that you might imagine a family needs, and all around Israel, people just gave. Whatever they could, they gave. And so it was the easiest thing to give what we could. When I came back here, I had to do something, and I have been volunteering on so many different projects. But this particular one is called Coming Home Soon. And it actually, I came across it on the very many WhatsApp groups I monitor and work with. The name of the artist is Inbar Hasson. She lives in Amsterdam, and she's been creating there. I guess she's on some scholarship. And when this happened, a few families of hostages reached out to her, telling her of their pain, of not feeling that their stories are heard, because not every family is knowledgeable enough to have an online presence. And so she gathered all the information. It took her a long time, and created these books. They are in the Amsterdam Museum, the Jewish Museum in Amsterdam. They're always there. And school children and adults pass through the museum, Jews and non-Jews, and they leave messages of hope in all these books. And these books represent every single person that's been taken hostage. Some of them, thankfully, have come back. Some of them we know have been murdered there or during the terrorist attack, and their bodies were taken. And some we don't know, 134 to be precise. We don't yet know anything about them. Since I've gotten back, I've been protesting in front of the UN, in front of the private residence of Secretary Guterres, in front of UN Women. We've been doing these horrific exhibitions of women undergoing terror, and I know you know the details, so I won't go into depth, but we have done everything we can to make it visual and in the face of New Yorkers so that they don't forget. But this attempt is quite different in that it is targeting our messages to the families and to the hostages. Kids who've come back would love to hear from other children or from adults wishing them good health and coming back into normal society. Adults who've come back would like to know that we're thinking about them. And families of people who are still there would like to know that we are thinking about them. Please pause on this. I don't know if you can read the name, but Al-Ziadne is not a Jewish last name. The Bedouin community has been greatly affected during this terror attack. It didn't matter to the terrorists that they met Muslims. These people plainly told them that they are Muslim. They spoke Arabic to them. Some of them yelled out the name of God in the way that Muslims have to. There's no other God but Allah, and it didn't matter. They were still taken. The full families were taken. Brother and sister were taken. I know of at least one parent that nobody knew he was taken until 2 weeks later. They figured out that he is there. And so Inbar, the artist, made a conscious decision to include everyone, Thai people working in the fields. They forgot to mention why they were working the cucumbers, because there are no workers. The entire Thai community, who has been very helpful to Israeli agriculture, have left. Some are still in captivity, but the ones who could left. A community that did not leave are the Filipinos. I have to tell you, people from the Philippines take the one day off they have a week, and they come in groups to help in agriculture. It is a very moving thing to see. There are people from Thailand, there are people from other South Asian countries. They are all represented in these postcards, and if you glance, you'll see their names. So the idea behind the books is that you write messages of hope, of love, of solidarity, of support. And to those of us who can't come in contact with the actual books, Inbar created this website. It's called cominghomesoon.online, not .com, online. And it's at the back of every postcard. There's a QR code. If you scan that with your phone, it will take you directly to the page of that person. And you can take as many as you want. And just, if you don't feel comfortable writing the messages, that's okay. Just think about them. Pray for them. Send them, good messages and good energy. I know Orna, Omer Nutra's mom, always tells him when she talks about him and to him, I know you're strong, be strong. Because it's true, Omer is very, very strong, and he's a natural born leader, and I'm pretty sure that he's holding everybody around him strong. There are so many other people that we know. Carmel Gat is a yoga teacher, so when some of the people came back, the women that were with her were telling us through the media that Carmel was teaching them ways through yoga. They couldn't do yoga because there's no air in the tunnels, but she was teaching them ways to breathe, to relax, to do as much. So people are doing that all the time, and it's a wonderful thing. So on the website, you can read a little bit of the stories. It's not on the postcards, but certainly on the website, you can read stories and get a better feel of who the people. But here's someone writing to Hamza. The first name is on top, the last name. So Hamza Aziadne, somebody is writing, אנחנו לא מכירים, אבל אני מבטיחה שאעשה הכל, אקדיש את כל זמני והאמצעים שעומדים לרשותי כדי להשיב אותך. I'll do everything in my power to bring you home. That's the signature is in Bar Chasson, Holland. That's the artist herself. So I think she had written to every single one of them. But you can see people write in English, and here, it doesn't matter. You can draw a drawing and take a picture and upload it. It doesn't have to be words if you can't find the words. I just recently wrote to Chaim Perry, who's been an amazing, amazing guy from Be'eri. And he's had an art gallery. He's 4 years younger than my dad. He's 79, I think. Yeah. And my dad is 83. And he has this passion for creating art from metal, and so he has a gallery in the fields. And we found out for Mishluchei Manot that his favorite cookie is Abadi Iraqi cookies. I don't know how many of you know. So for Purim, I made a batch, and other friends of mine chose other recipes. There's another website that does that. I can tell you where to go. And we all made these, and we felt so much closer to these people. And that's the whole idea, is to truly bring them into your lives. I know it's very painful, but should they, when they will come back, and should their family check these websites, they often do, they'll see that we're thinking about them and that they are not alone. And if you're saying that about the soldiers, how appreciative they are of not being alone, then certainly these families need it. So it is the simplest thing to do. Just take a postcard, If you don't mind, can I ask one of each row to just go to the back and bring postcards just so that you can hold them up? And I would love to take a picture and send it to Inbal to show her that even people in the US, this is going all over Europe. You can see in all the beautiful synagogues of Europe, they are doing this. So that will be great. And again, no message is too small, even one word, even I love you, thinking about you, it's all meaningful to them. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And if you have any questions about my experiences in Israel, I'm happy to answer those too. Thank you. Everyone has a postcard? You can hold up too. We have two hands. I like this. Nice. So if you have them, if you don't mind holding them up, I'll try my best to take a picture and I'll send it to Inbal to show her. Oh, great. And I'll take this one. Very nice. Any questions? I'd love to tell you more, but like Amit, I know that if once we start, we never stop. When Kfar Aza was evacuated, it wasn't immediately. People had to go in and take these families out safely. It was done mostly by civilians. A software that's used to logistically figure out the last mile of delivering goods to people. I forget the name of the company, unfortunately. So I don't know how many billions this company is worth. He basically turned the state of Israel into a client, just like he does with his fleet of trucks. And wherever there was a need, they found a driver, a car, not always coming together. And those people, almost all of them had to be armed, went down to whichever kibbutz and knocked on the door, told the people it's safe for you to come out, took them in the car and rushed them up north. That was done by civilians. Kibbutz Kfar Aza in particular were evacuated to Kibbutz Shfaim. If any of you have ever traveled to Israel, 10 minutes from Netanya, from my hometown. They were housed there, and my daughter Yael and I went to serve them dinners, and we saw people who were in total and utter shock because they really had no idea that this would ever be. I mean, they were used to rockets flying overhead. Noah, my daughter, served in Re'im, which is a base right on the border, and often told me how unsafe it was. But her biggest fear was rockets. She never thought that terrorists would come through the fence. So I consider myself very, very lucky. She was there in 2010 and 2011, but it could have happened then too. So I did want to mention, if you look at the postcards, you're holding a postcard with a blue sticker that says welcome on it. What's the name? Alma came back. She was saved. Sometimes you'll see a sticker, forever in our hearts. That person is known to be murdered. You. And those that have no stickers, we simply don't know, and we are hoping that they are all alive and will all come back to us. So that's the meaning. There's no meaning to the colors, as far as I know. I speak with Inbal every day, but I always forget to ask her. I just think she chose a color palette, and that was it. So please, I'm really happy you came to hear this and to participate and to be witnesses to this very unique time in the state of Israel. And never underestimate all of us being here, being important to the state. Don't feel like Israel only needs you for money. It is not true. They need you for moral support, and they need you for guidance. We should not abandon all of our normal American values when it comes to Israel. Feel good about letting Israelis know what's right and wrong. It's okay. That's what we do in families. We straighten each other up and strengthen each other up. So thank you again.
So let's give a thank you now to everyone who presented from their experience tonight. And I'm pretty confident they'll all agree that the best thing we can do to say thank you is to make sure that in the days to come, we share something from what they shared with us tonight. That we share that with friends, we share that with other people we have a chance to meet and get to know, and to share a reflection, something that we heard from Amit or from one of the people that we go on this website and we write to a family, we learn something about one of the people taken hostage or, God forbid, killed in the terror, and that we share that with more people. That's how we make connections, and that's how we hopefully can make a little bit of a difference in this world. Now we're going to conclude tonight with prayers and with singing Hatikva. So we have Elaine Ben-Levi, Rabbi Rosenthal, and Cantor are going to take us through those prayers. And thank you everyone for coming and for sticking with us. It's been a very powerful and a little bit longer program than I think we might have anticipated, but it was well worth it. And every moment, every word, powerful and hitting us in the heart. So everyone, thank you for being here, and let's come together as one and have our hearts join together as we pray and we sing together. And let's stand.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך. חזק את ידי מגיני ארץ קודשנו, והנחילם אלוהים ישועה, ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם. ונתת שלום בארץ, ושמחת עולם ליושביה. ונאמר אמן.
The prayer that Elaine just read, the prayer for the state of Israel, and the prayer that I'm about to share with you, a prayer for our captives, are ones that we have been saying here at Beth Shalom every day, morning and evening, and ones that we will continue to say. We believe that prayer is an important tool, and dare I say it, weapon that we have in Judaism. So please, if you have joined us in the past for our daily services and our Shabbat services, please continue to do so. If you haven't been coming to our daily services and or our Shabbat services, your presence is needed now more than ever, so that you can add your voices to these important prayers for Israel, for our soldiers, and for our captives. I'll share with you now a prayer for those in captivity. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Yosef Moshe v'Aharon, David u'Shlomo hu yivarech v'yishmor v'yinsor et nedrei tzva ha'hagana liYisrael u'shvuyav v'et kol achenu hanitunim b'tzara u'v'shivya ba'avur shekol hakahal hazeh mitpalel ba'avuram. Hakadosh Baruch Hu yimaleh rachamim aleihem v'yotzihem me'choshech v'tzalmavet u'mosrotehem yinatek u'mimtzukotehem yoshiem v'yishivem mehera l'chek mishpachotehem. Yodu l'Adonai chasdo v'niflotav livnei adam. V'yukuyam b'hem mikra shekatuv uv'duyei Adonai yeshuvun uva'ot Zion berina v'simchat olam al rosham Sason v'simcha yasigu v'nasu yagon v'anacha v'nomar amen. May the Holy One who blessed our ancestors bless, protect, and guard the members of Israel's defense forces missing in action or held captives, and other captives among our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel who are in distress, as we, the members of this holy congregation, pray on their behalf. May the Holy One, blessed be he, have compassion on them and bring them out from darkness and the shadow of death. May he break their bonds, deliver them from their distress, and bring them swiftly back to their family's embrace. Give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and for the wonders he does for the children of humanity. And may there be fulfilled in them the verse, those redeemed by the Lord will return, they will enter Zion with singing, and everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. And let us say, Amen. Amen.
Let us end this very powerful evening in singing together, joining our voices powerfully in the singing of Hatikva. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi omiya ulfatei mizrach kadima ayin lezion Sophia, or Lord of Tikvatenu, Atikva bat shenot alpaim, liot amechofshi be'arzenu, Eretz Zion, Yerushalayim, liot amechofshi be'arzenu, Eretz Zion, Yerushalayim. Thank you all. And please make sure you take with you at least one postcard and connect as best as you can.